This is my July grocery shopping trip, and I want to teach you some of the tricks that I have to stay in our grocery budget, which is $135 per person. If you're just meeting me, my name is Amy Cross, and this is the Cross Legacy, where I teach you how to save money on groceries. 4 years ago, almost exactly to the day, on July 3rd, I started the Cross Legacy, which I started sharing some of my produce tips and sharing strawberries in a jar, which went viral. Then I had a TED Talk, and now I'm a best-selling author teaching my produce tips to keep your produce fresh longer. But we go to the grocery store once every 3 to 4 weeks, and we have zero food waste. So I hope that you subscribe to this channel and check out all the videos we have on not only keeping your produce fresh longer, but the meals that I'm making with the ingredients that I'm buying. So how our grocery budget works, it's $135 per person, and currently for the last year and a half or so, it's just been my husband and I here. So our grocery budget for over the last year and a half has been $270. We did have our grandma living with us, and we're also college-age parents and have been foster parents over the years. So our grocery budget can vary at any time depending on what season we are in our lives and who's home at the time. So currently for the last year and a half, it has been $270 per month. Now, I normally say we are a mostly organic family. I give myself a 20% grace. So I try to have 80% of the things that I buy be organic, and 20% is okay. It's either that's the size that they have at like Costco that I want to get that might not be organic. Sometimes I just want a brand name over something else, or we have allergies in our family too, so that's really important for us also. But about 80% of everything that I buy, I try to get organic. At the end of this video, we'll talk about how much I actually spent today at Costco, but one of the questions that's going to come up is there's not very much meat here on the countertop. And we do have a freezer full of meat. I buy meat once every 2 years, and we just got that purchase recently and just put a video up here on the channel. Now the meat budget comes out of that same grocery budget, and I will talk about that a little bit more at the very end. But yes, I do buy meat, and it is in that same budget of $135 per person. I like to focus on having the same types of ingredients in my house at all times, so I know that I can make many different meals based on the same things that we normally have. But we also switch them up per season, so we have a great variety of meals. And every 2 weeks, we post a meals video here on the channel that shows how I'm using these ingredients throughout the seasons and the year. So make sure that you're hitting subscribe and checking out that playlist. We're gonna start over here on this Costco haul with the dairy items, which I'm gonna laugh about. I'm actually gonna talk about the eggs first, which is not dairy, but in the dairy case, we used to have backyard chickens, and we recently gave them to a family friend because we're getting ready to move. So this is the second time in about 10 years I've actually bought eggs from the grocery store. I did make sure to get a block of cheese while I was at the store. We've been getting this Kerrygold cheese, which I've been using in all sorts of different ways, from nachos to my eggs, and we've been using it as sliced cheese on sandwiches also. And I normally always have some kind of like sliced cheese that we can grab in a hurry. I'm diabetic, so it's just one of the snacks that I like to have handy. And normally always I get Greek yogurt at Costco, and they were sold out today. So luckily we still have some that's in the refrigerator from our last grocery shopping trip, which was exactly 4 weeks ago today. So that is in a glass jar with a metal lid, and I still have a quart left in the refrigerator. Normally, Greek yogurt will last for 6 weeks, and when you store it in the glass jar with the metal lid, that will push it out 2 weeks past that. We should be fine until our next grocery shopping trip, not having any extra Greek yogurt. The cottage cheese I'm gonna store exactly the same way in a quart-sized jar with a metal lid, and that will extend the shelf life of that. And it also helps remove some of those bulky containers in your refrigerator. We have a video just talking about different dairy items if you want more specific information about that. Every summer, I make sure that I get a container of the mozzarella balls. That also I store in a quart jar with a metal lid. And as long as you keep the balls below the oil level in that, they will stay fresh in the jar for about a year. And so we can enjoy it for a long time until we eat them all up. We've been getting the A2 milk, which has a really long shelf life. It's July 1st for our grocery shopping trip, and this says it's good until September 14th, which we will use it before then, but that is a really long shelf life. And I love that as we use them, we can just throw away a container and we don't have bulky plastic containers in the refrigerator. Some of the fun things that we bought for this grocery shopping trip is I got some balsamic glaze. Again, with those mozzarella balls, we like to make the 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐍 salads, especially here in the summertime. So those are so good with tomatoes or peaches or nectarines, and we like to have those around and available. And sometimes I'll put the glaze on pasta salads and also on pizzas. And I believe always you need one splurge, one extra thing, one something special, especially when you're trying to bribe whoever's carrying in the groceries. I got some honey mustard dots pretzels that I thought would really make Mike happy. Some of the meat items here that I got, it is summertime and we have a lot of house showings. So we've been eating a lot more like sandwiches and wraps, trying to eat something really quickly and run out of the house as there's showings happening here at our house. Like moving is a struggle and not knowing when you have to be out of the house for a showing has been really hard to meal plan. So I did make sure that I got some of the turkey that I like. I was going back and forth between a couple of them. It really kills me sometimes that this one is so expensive, but it is delicious. And especially when we're eating it without bread, I like to have this lunch meat. So I will get that one. If we're having it on a hoagie or something, then sometimes I will get a different brand. I try to get it as natural and organic as I can, but still trying to focus on my grocery budget. And something fun for summertime, I ended up getting some chicken drumsticks. Again, these are organic. I like that they come in the individual packages. I can just divide these packages up and put them in the freezer so I can pull them out one at a time. For about a half second, I was debating about getting the larger bag that has the Ziploc at the top of it. And those just get freezer burned so quickly. We don't go through them quick enough that it's just better for me to get the ones that are already vacuum sealed. They will last in the freezer much longer. And since we're moving, I wanted to make sure that they were vacuum sealed. That makes it easier. And then underneath here is some Italian sausage. This is in just a cardboard container with some plastic on it. I'm going to make sure that I put these in some Ziploc bags before I put them in the freezer, and they will last a lot longer. So I already have some chicken breasts down in the freezer, and then we have our half beef that we just got. Again, we do this once every 2 years to get the half beef, and that comes out of the grocery budget, and I will teach you at the end of the video how I do that. There's also a playlist of buying beef tips and tricks. Make sure that you check them out. So it's summertime and it's hot, and I don't really like buying a ton of bread during the summertime, but we seem to have more sandwiches and stuff at the same time. I made sure to get some flour tortillas. These are the carb balance ones. Again, I'm diabetic, so I want to make sure that I'm making good choices. And then I got some corn tortillas also to make like street tacos and different things when we want smaller portions. And I love that you can put half of this package into the freezer and it will last like a year, so we don't have to worry about going through this package before it gets stale. I like to have these pitas on hand all of the time. We use these to make pizzas or as wraps, and I make some gyros with them also. But I love that I can put them into the freezer and they don't get stuck together. So I can just pull out however many I need that night for dinner, and they defrost pretty quickly. So this whole entire package was like $3.99, and it just lives in my freezer for a couple months. So before we get into the produce here, I kind of want to have a little disclaimer is we normally go to Costco and do a grocery shopping trip, and then we go to Fred Meyer's and pick up any of the rest of the produce that we normally get. It is really hot here today, and I decided I wanted to get these things home as quickly as possible, and I want to go to the farmer's market, which I'm not doing on this grocery shopping trip. So we might make that a second video, but we'll talk about that budget at the end of the video. And one of the reasons why I wanted to rush home as quickly as possible is Mike is dealing with some kidney stones, and I didn't want to be too far away from the house for too long. and it's hot. So I wanted to make sure that was taken care of. But it's kind of interesting. I'm not making any medical disclaimers, but oftentimes you'll hear me say that I buy a bunch of lemons because Mike drinks lemon tea every single morning. Well, he actually kind of stopped that about a month or so ago and kind of was getting bored of doing it. He had been drinking that lemon tea for like over 10 years every single morning because he used to deal with kidney stones. And then he stopped drinking the lemon tea and all of a sudden he's dealing with kidney stones again. So I made sure to get a double bag of the lemons today so he can start drinking that again, and hopefully that's going to help with this process. But I also have some fresh lavender outside and I love lavender lemonade. So I wanted to make sure that I had extra to make lemonade. And then I made sure to get a big bag of spinach. We use this oftentimes in salads, and then later in the grocery shopping cycle, if I still haven't used it all the way up because we're using lettuce and other things, then I will put the spinach into the freezer and then just use that frozen to put into different meals. So if I'm eating it fresh, I keep it in the refrigerator and use it for the month. Or if I want it frozen, then I'll put it in the freezer. We go through one of these 6-pound bags of carrots every single month. Almost every single day before dinner time, I have some carrots and different veggies sitting out on the counter, and I normally have a high protein dip that I put with it. This is a habit that I had when my kids were growing up, that as soon as they walked into the house, we had fruits and veggies ready for them to eat, and that way I didn't worry so much when it came to dinner time what was actually on their plate, and they ate because they were eating healthy things when they walked in the door. And I find that I still do this all the time when Mike's getting off work or as I'm making dinner. I will just pull out the Pyrex dishes that have the veggies in it and we just snack on it while we're waiting for dinner. And then I made sure to get some organic blueberries and some organic strawberries. Those I will wash like I teach with the strawberries in a jar method, and that way they will stay fresh for weeks in the refrigerator. If you didn't know, things like raspberries and blackberries will normally last 2 to 3 weeks. Strawberries will last 3 weeks. Grapes will last 4 to 6 weeks, and blueberries will last 6 to 8 weeks. So when you're getting a whole bunch of different berries at the same time and you know how long they're going to last, it makes it easier when you're trying to hand out the ones that are going to spoil the quickest first, and then you can keep things like blueberries, which will last almost 2 months longer. I did get a huge watermelon, which we will enjoy, and it will last in the refrigerator for a couple weeks as I start cutting it up. But it's also a good reminder that a big watermelon is about the same price as some blueberries or some strawberries. So if you can get more produce and to make your family happy, sometimes that is a good thing to be able to mix up what you have. So as you're cutting this, make sure that you store it in glass in the refrigerator, and then every couple days just drain the juice off of the watermelon. I normally pour this down the sink. Again, I am diabetic, so I don't drink straight juice hardly ever, but you can drink it if you want to. But just make sure that every couple days you're taking the juice off of the watermelon, and that will make it so it doesn't get sour on the watermelon, and it will last a lot longer. And we love making watermelon feta salads, so that's something that I also often do with the watermelon, and we have that recipe on the blog. If you want more tips on keeping your produce fresh, this is my Zero Waste Produce Guide, which we have 75 produce items listed A to Z, and this book with the grocery planner that I use is on sale for a bundle deal, and that is linked in the description. And there should also be a special discount code linked in the description, so make sure that you're checking it out. But I want to show you how I'm using my grocery planner. With this being July, I was able to start a brand new planner that's going to get me now through the end of the year. So this is a live-in one that I'm going to use for the rest of 2025. But I did transfer over some of the information from my last planner, and that was the carryover amount that I've been carrying over in my grocery budget the last couple months. So the carryover amount that I had in my grocery budget was $121.74. I made sure that I wrote that down, and then on paydays, Mike puts in more money into my grocery debit account. So I have one bank account and all I use it for is for groceries. So he makes sure that before I go grocery shopping, I have $270 added to that account. So I had the $270 plus the $121 in my grocery account when I went to the grocery store today. That being said, at the grocery store today at Costco, I spent $189.52 on groceries. So my carryover from today that I have left is $80.48. Now, I try to keep $50 set aside out of the grocery budget, and that goes into the rollover that we normally save for buying the next beef order. So there's two things I want to talk about here really quickly. Is one, I plan on doing a farmer's market trip still, and Mike has an appointment that goes right by the farm stand. So I decided instead of doing that today, I was going to make the farm stand video its own video. So that will come out a couple days after I go. So there will be more produce that I will be buying out of that $80.48. There will be a little bit more taken out of that as we're getting cucumbers and peppers and onions and some lettuce and hopefully some beautiful peaches. And then as we were talking about, we buy meat every 2 years. So we just got the last meat order and the farmer hasn't started the next round of them yet. So I actually don't have to start saving for that next meat order until the farmer does that. So normally we take like a 2 or 3 month break between the two orders, and it gives us a little bit more flexibility in our grocery budget. So by September, when that process starts over again, then I'll make sure for sure that I'm saving $50 a month into my savings account for that. But right now I'm sitting at $202.22 between what I had left over from today and what was rolled over that I can spend on groceries however I want to. And on the next page of the grocery planner talks about eating out. So those are my groceries. They're food that we eat. It's not any like other random things that might get into my cart when I'm at the grocery store out and about. When I talk about groceries, it is just the ingredients and the food that we are eating. In 2025, we had challenged ourselves not to get takeout, and we went the first 5.5 months of this year not getting any drive-through. With these house showings and different things, we have went a couple times, but it has been very, very limited. And the only times that we've went out to eat this entire year so far has been special occasions, which we learned a long time ago that sometimes that special occasion budget or those date night budgets was getting just eaten up because we were getting takeout too often or getting coffee too often, that we didn't have the budget to go do something special. So when I'm figuring out how we're planning out our extra money, I make sure that I divide it up between if we're getting coffee or takeout, and if we have a special occasion, a family birthday or a date night that we want to save money and make sure that we have money for. So we divide those into different categories, and different seasons of our life there has been different amounts of money in those different categories, but our grocery budget has remained the same at $135 per person for over the last 10 years. And before that, it used to be $100 per person. So even in the last few years, we haven't had to increase the budget at all. I will say I am being a little bit more choosy about things that I'm buying, and I'm not always getting extra things that we don't need, but I am able to stick in the budget, and we're still having a variety of meals and really happy with the budget and the groceries that we have in our house. So if you need to learn more about stocking a pantry or stocking things in your freezers, we have tons of videos for that. Make sure that you're checking them out all throughout the channel. And there are so many produce tips videos, and then we have the meals series. So there's so many different ways that you can learn on this channel to help you save money on groceries. And normally I do all my grocery shopping in one day. We don't do a part 1 and a part 2, but just with all the things that are going on right now, we are going to end this video right here. And then when I go to the farm stand, then I'll end up making a second video for that, so you can see everything that I ended up bringing into the house. But within the next 24 hours, I'm going to end up going to the farm stand, and then we will have all the groceries that we need for the entire month. If you're looking for a video on a specific item, we probably have one for that. Just make sure that you're asking in the comments, and I'm happy to answer questions. I check in on YouTube multiple times a day and try to answer all the questions I possibly can. And sometimes YouTube kind of blocks the questions so I don't see them, but whenever I see a question, it is a privilege and an honor to me to be able to answer them and connect with you. So you are never bothering me when you're actually trying to learn things that are going to help you save money on groceries or feed your family better.